Hey, welcome back. Today I'm going to show you how I built this square bill crankbait from an illegal tree, the Bradford Pear. We're going to talk about why it's illegal, and we're going to show you step by step how I built this lure, and then we're going to take you to this lake and show you underwater how it performs. On this episode of So let's get started. As I said before, this piece of wood is from a Bradford pear tree. Bradford pear tree. So that tree is not the Bradford pear tree that I'm using. I used one that was outside my bedroom window as a child, and about 15 years ago it blew down, and my dad saved wood from that tree and recently gave it to me, so it's nice and aged. So why is the Bradford pear tree illegal? Well, according to the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, the Bradford pear tree has invasive qualities which can cause environmental and economic harm to our local ecosystems. The calorie pear is an ornamental species of the fruit that is native to regions of Asia and was introduced to North America for agricultural purposes in the early 1900s. So this month, Ohio became the first state to ban the sale of Bradford pear trees. It is now illegal to sell, grow, or plant these trees because of its invasive qualities. Okay, you can still own these trees, and they're quite pretty, although they do stink, but you just can't plant them or sell them anymore. You might have noticed my bandsaw blade is a little dull. It struggled with this hardwood. And even though it's hardwood, it doesn't mean that it's not brittle. It doesn't hold up very well in high, strong winds, the Bradford pear trees. So you should use this wood for interior purposes only, but although I'm using this as a lure, I will be adding protective coats to it. I'm going to seal it with polyurethane, super glue, and even a clear coat. This wood is extremely wide-grained. The wood database I was looking through, it has the pear's Janka hardness rating at 1600. So if you don't know anything about that, that's about the same as Sisu rosewood and a little bit harder than teak. So after a lengthy sanding session, I'm going to use the bandsaw to go ahead and cut a slot for the square bill, and then I'm going to drill the holes for the tie-on hardware, front, bottom, and back. After that, I'm going to drill the pilot hole for the eyes, and then use a Forstner bit to go ahead and cut the holes for that. I'll use that same bit to go ahead and make the holes for the lead that will ballast this lure, meaning it'll float upright and sink. So I basically improvised the design of this square bill. As you saw in the beginning, I kind of just drew up what I like from past experience. And I'm going to use Lexan polycarbonate, very tough material, for our square bill up front. And again, I'm just going to go ahead and wing it. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut it with the bandsaw before we install it. After the bandsaw, we're going to have to do a little bit of sanding. So if the music and my smooth, sultry voice is starting to put you to sleep, that's fine. Treat it as an ASMR video. Wake up later and pick up where you left off. As you know, I mostly build baits in the winter, not a lot of fishing. It's 19 degrees today, so I don't think I'm going to catch any fish with this lure, but I will show you how it performs in the water. As you see here, I'm using steel wire to create our tie-on eyes. I've done this in previous builds, and I will link to a playlist of all my past builds at the end of this video. This would be 1 year of build making for me, so this is our first anniversary Build-A-Bait video. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and make sure everything fits all right. I had to cut a little slot so that it will fit around that tie-on eye. I'm gonna use a 5-minute epoxy, mix it up, and go ahead and use that to make sure that our tie-on eyes and the square bill are very secure in this build. Remember, at the end of this video, I'm going to show you how this lure performs in the water. So if you want to see more of these Build-A-Bait videos, go ahead and subscribe or comment down below. Let me know what else you want me to build. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Fishbrain. We're everywhere. Now I'm going to do the water ballast test, and I'm going to use super glue just to seal up the lure before I add the weight and see how it floats. For the super glue part and the sanding and all that kind of stuff, including the lead pouring and clear coating, I always wear a respirator. Safety first in the Cincy Fish Labs. Once again, I'm just going to improvise this lead pour off of past experience, and then we're going to just put in some hooks and drop it in the water and see how it floats. Hopefully it's upright. Yep, nice sink. All right, let's move on. Super glue baking soda. I've heard that this stuff has been used to fill holes in helicopter propellers, so you know it's strong, but I like how it's fast also. Now to seal it one final time before I start painting, I'm going to seal it with this mini wax polyacrylic crystal clear top coat, and then we'll move on to airbrushing. For the base coat, I'm going to use just white, and I'm going to use balancing clear because it works better when you're airbrushing on a shiny, glossy surface. You know, I also like to improvise airbrushing, and I'm going to use a pearlized chartreuse type color to go ahead and start adding some accents. Next, I'm going to use an opaque yellow to continue on with the same process. I just bought this brand new container of pearlized purple, and we can use this to airbrush over a stencil to kind of get a cool little pattern going. Next, I'm going to cut a piece of loofah or a shower scrunchie and wrap that around the lure. I'm going to use a transparent white and, you know, try to give a little bit of a scale pattern going. I don't want a strong one. Next, I'm going to try out this silver and try to put some lines on the top of the bait and a couple more accents to the bottom. Now, airbrushing gills is new to me, so I'm going to use this stencil to give it a shot. I'll put on black first, and then over top of it, I'll do a white, and I don't know. We'll see how it works. I'll also go ahead and top off the head, the front face, with a little bit of a black, and then around the eye area. Okay, that's kind of cool. I'll get better at that, but that's kind of cool. If you've seen any of my previous builds, you also know that I like to draw up my own fin patterns in Photoshop and print those on decal paper. To me, it gives it like an almost three-dimensional look, like the fin is actually there. I use that same decal paper to do my logo and my signature. I'll dab a little super glue into the eye slot, and I like to pick a high contrasting eye. I like the red with this particular lure. Yeah, looks nice. Next, I'm going to put on True Coat. I'm going to use equal parts, and I use a scale to make sure I get that exactly right. I'll add a little bit of glitter and then use a old paintbrush to put on our clear coat. After I do the clear coat, I'll start the rotation process, and I'll do that for about, I don't know, 5 to 10 hours, and then I'll stop it and let it dry overnight. The clear coat dried quite nicely overnight, and it really brings out the colors of the lure. And it also protects it, and it keeps the tie-on eyes and all that stuff like the bill. It makes it even a tighter, stronger fit. So now I'm going to add some hooks. We're going to bring it to the lake and see how it performs underwater. It's got a nice sink. Nice little wobble, man. It's working. There we go. Square bill's doing its job. It goes fast without turning over. Goes straight. Yes. Pretty psyched about this one. Gonna let it sink for a sec. I will be taking these handmade winter baits and shooting more videos this summer of me actually catching fish with them. Excellent.